You need people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fingers and say, that's the bad guy.
What we found is that race is the deal breaker of all characteristics. It operates more strongly than education, physical characteristics. It is the deal breaker. And one of the things that we often found, which I thought was interesting in interviewing, especially many of the white men, is this aggrieved feeling that they were disadvantaged in online dating, and that they were being ignored. And yet in our quantitative analysis, we find that white men are the most desired of all men. And this has been shown in many other platforms too. So this is not specific to the platform that we're looking at. Our quantitative analysis showed that almost all women or all women of all races and almost all gay men, actually black men did not show this, that their preference was strongest for white men. Now this preference for white men was statistically significant for other races, but especially strong for white women. But I found it really interesting that women and gay men of other races would respond first to white men and only secondly to men of their same race. So on the other hand, when it comes to preferences for women, so if we look at the ways in which straight men and lesbians, who their preferences are, who they interact with, et cetera, we found that unlike for men, whiteness was not the defining characteristic per se, but the defining pattern was for same race preferences, so contacting others of the same race. Men of all race and lesbians of color do not seem to have a first preference for white women, but their same ethnic group. And unlike straight women and gay men, they're also more open to people from all racial groups, and this is really important, except Black daters. So we document a persistent and specific anti-Blackness that operates among the sexual preferences of white, Asian, Hispanic, multiracial, straight men, and gay women.
You don't find that suspicious?
Another one.
Ain't that something? Now, as I told you guys before, I will tend to allow the comments to speak directly for themselves. So again, if people want to argue, people want to have an issue, then you can clearly have an issue with the people who left the comments. It's not me who are putting these things, who are writing these things. These are actual people that are doing it. No ifs, ands, or buts directly about it. No type of way that you can decide that you want to deflect, even if you want to be stupid enough to do so. That would just mean that you want to go against the truth, right? And you were able to hear directly from a woman who did some research, had the numbers, and they found the main person who is the utmost desirable that every single woman out here wants to go after first, number one, are Caucasian men. No other men out there. Caucasian are number one. And that's from every group of women. And I brought that up more so specifically because you will have the black women that do happen to show up and they want to run their mouths and they want to try to say this, that, and the third when there are numbers and stats directly out there, right? When they go on these dating apps, there are a few of them in a sense on there. You will have some of them go on social media and they'll state that, oh, overwhelmingly, every other man out here wants us, every other man desires us. They will say all of these things, right? They're not able to pull any numbers. They're not able to pull any stats. But yet, when the numbers are actually looked through the data of these apps, when the background is shown, you can clearly see who is getting picked. You can clearly see who is specifically getting chosen. And that's the main thing that I talk about a lot of the times whenever you start hearing them run their mouths about how it is that they are top priority, how it is that other men of other ethnicities really want them, really desire them. Like, yeah, they do, in a sense, really desire. They desire for a specific reason. But I'm going to pull back a little bit and go back to some of the comments that were listed. One of the women there stated that the only time that black men actually desire black women is due to a fetish, which doesn't make any type of sense. I'm not exactly sure how it is that black men can fetishize black women. I've never heard of that ever in my life where the men of a certain group, ethnicity, or whatever it is, would fetishize their own women. That sounds completely odd. That sounds completely odd, right? And then you were looking at a lot of the comments where these women were talking about, oh, they find it weird whenever it is that black men are positive and they're speaking a certain type of way, right? They're speaking respectful, right? They're speaking in a way of endearment, of upliftment, of value when it comes to black women. And you were seeing all of these comments up there stating, I was like, oh no, this is just weird. They're just fetishizing us. I thought I was the only one that really found this weird and yada, yada, yada. Oh, they're just fakes. They're this, they're like I said. And the main reason I'm showcasing these comments is to make this point. No matter what black men do, it's a losing situation. If black men don't happen to talk positively, speak positively, uplift, put on a pedestal, state how much they love and care, right, for black women. If we don't just so happen to state any of these things, we are the villain. We're automatically deemed to be self-hating. We are automatically deemed to prioritize every other woman of every nation or ethnicity or color over black women. We are deemed to not love black women. We are deemed to not love ourselves. We are deemed to not love our mothers and our sisters and our daughters and our aunts and our grandmothers and whatever other black women that are directly out there, right? We are deemed to be disrespectful, right? We are deemed to be always tearing down black women if we don't in some way, shape, or form show some type of love, compassion, empathy, sympathy, value, respect towards black women, right? And then if we just so happen to speak in a certain type of way, such as positively, respectfully, if we tend to show some type of value, some type of understanding of the importance of black women, of how it is that they are able to create, how it is that they have the gift of the universe, then we are deemed to be lame, we are deemed to be corny, or we're like I said, it's a funny thing. It's a funny thing, and it's pretty interesting to go through and read comments, just like spend time on social media, and and not only just read the comments, but you're also going through the profiles of these women who are stating a lot of these things. And then when you go through the profiles of these women, you tend to see a lot of the same stuff. right? Some of the women, they'll say that, oh, they only have, um, love or whatever it is for black women, right? And I'm like, okay, well, if that is the case, then why are you speaking on black men? If you're telling me that your interest or your focus is solely on black women, which is cool, then why open your mouth about black men? Why be worried about what it is that black men are doing? Because they're not really trying to address you, at least if they know that, you are solely interested or you are solely for, that side of the fence. They're not going to really try to get directly at you. Now, the bold ones, of course, that are like, hey, anything is possible. Yeah, they'll more likely sit up there and try. But logically speaking, most men are not going to, once there's an identifier that lets them know, like, hey, you're not interested in men. Logical thinking, critically thinking men are not going to actively try to seek you out. They're not going to try to really say anything, to you at all, because it serves no purpose. So again, it's quite interesting, right? And then one of the other ones that I showcased to you guys before was the image of a black woman, and she was with her counterpart, which is a Caucasian male, which is something you clearly heard the Caucasian woman speak on directly when it deals with these dating apps. And the most interesting thing about that is something that she stated about her counterpart, right? Which we were all able to see. She stated how she views her counterpart as corny. And she said that the older I get, the more I appreciate being corny with my man. So we wore matching outfits to go see Creed 3 together, right? And you completely saw her. She was ecstatic. She was happy. She was smiling and, posing and all of that, right? Now, remember, at one point in time, we had Michael B. Jordan, right? A guy women weren't really sitting up there looking for. When he wasn't famous, girls were not looking for Michael B. Jordan. Michael B. Jordan was not that guy, right? Girls, women, they weren't looking in his direction, right? So then once he got famous, you saw some women looking in his direction, but even still, no matter what he did, you had the usual suspects calling Michael B. Jordan corny. Even when he was with Lori Harvey, they were still calling him corny. They were saying, "Oh, this ain't gonna last long. This is that, whatnot, whatever." And like I said, it's amazing. It's just 1,000% amazing seeing how a lot of these things just so happen to play out. Looking through a lot of the profiles, noticing the exact same post that people tend to be geared towards when it comes to this segment, and a lot of them deal with the down looking of black men and the uplifting of every other man that is not a black man. And then they also want to state that, oh, well, all of these guys that want to speak all of this, positive stuff about us, they really still don't even want us anyway. How would you know? Are you specifically going directly out there to seek these men out? Chances are you're not. You're being like a lot of the other ones out here you're following so that you can have the same thing to complain about. Oh, they always trying to be talking to me. They always saying good rising, all this other type of corny stuff and yada yada yada. I just stay away from them. I just block them. I just run as far away as possible. It's crazy. 100% crazy. And one of the most interesting things that I wanted to point out as well is the fact that some of the ones that you were able to see, they were young. They were about like probably 17, 18, and they were complaining. At 17 or 18, you don't really have enough experience out here in life with guys, with men, um, to really even formulate a type of an opinion where you critically thought about a variety and a multitude of life situations. You haven't even really lived that long. You don't even know that amount of people to really have a complaint. And especially a complaint that you would see older women, like, women that are like in their 20s, having and stating, which are some of the ones that I showcased to you before. And the one thing that I'm trying to get through is the fact that whatever it is that a lot of these women with these social media platforms, the type of wizardry, sorcery, the type of things that they are giving to the young women is going directly to the ones in high school. And what they don't completely understand is that they are getting led astray. And they're not getting led astray because, oh, it's because it's safer with everybody else. No, they're getting led astray because a lot of the older women are jaded. They feel a certain type of way because they're at a certain point directly in their life. They've had certain experiences with certain or specific black men that they've selectively chose and decided to directly be with, irregardless of whatever it is that other people have told them, what God or Jesus has specifically told them. No matter what smoke signals that were sent, they decided to still go for with those guys, to still be with those guys, to still formulate relationships, to form lifelong bonds, such as having kids. They still decided to do it, irregardless of what anybody decided to tell them, because they thought that they knew what was best. And now, because they got to sit with that failure, and they have to live with that failure, they want to live in that hurt, and they want to pass that hurt on to girls who have never really even experienced anything. And that's the craziest part, to see older black women wanting to pass down their hurt, all of that weight, all of that baggage, all of that luggage. They want to pass down all of that as some type of gift, as if they're saving the young girls out here. It's crazy. It's 1,000% crazy that you have people out here feeling that they can decide or potentially save somebody when they couldn't even save themselves, even though the world or other people tried to point them in a whole different direction, telling them, no, don't go with this guy, you should, be with this guy here. Didn't want to listen. Like I said before, I don't know what to tell people. I don't. The generations are technically, they're pretty messed up at this moment in time, and I'm not sure when it's going to get fixed. I guess whenever some type of mental reset takes place, that's when you'll start seeing things, get fixed. Because the more and more that this keeps going, I keep telling people it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And for the black women out there to think that they're doing God's work, keep doing whatever it is that you believe that you are doing. Because at the end of the day, you're going to end up learning, and you're going to be the one that's going to have to clean up the mess that you created. There's not going to be any black man out here that you're going to be able to blame for the reason why it is that the things that transpire.